According to electrical codes, the refrigerator receptacle approximately 3 feet from the kitchen sink is required to be ground fault circuit interrupter protected. This is due to the proximity to a water source, which increases the risk of electrical shock. Ground fault circuit interrupters are designed to quickly interrupt the electrical circuit when a ground fault is detected, significantly reducing the risk of serious injury or death from electrical shock. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides specific guidelines for the installation and protection of electrical circuits in residential and commercial buildings. These guidelines are regularly updated to reflect the latest safety standards and technological advancements. The requirement for ground fault circuit interrupter protection in kitchens, particularly near sinks, is a critical safety measure. Sinks are often surrounded by water and conductive materials, creating an environment where electrical hazards are more likely to occur. If an appliance, such as a refrigerator, has a fault that causes electricity to leak into its metal casing, the person touching the appliance and a grounded object, like a sink, could become part of the electrical circuit, resulting in a dangerous shock. A ground fault circuit interrupter works by monitoring the current flowing into and out of a circuit. If there is a difference of even a few milliamperes between the incoming and outgoing current, it indicates that some of the current is leaking to ground, meaning it is taking an unintended path. This leakage could be due to faulty wiring, damaged insulation, or a malfunctioning appliance. When a ground fault circuit interrupter detects this imbalance, it trips the circuit, cutting off the power almost instantly, typically within a fraction of a second. This rapid response time is crucial in preventing serious injury or death. Installing a ground fault circuit interrupter is a relatively straightforward process, but it should always be performed by a qualified electrician to ensure that it is done correctly and safely. There are two main types of ground fault circuit interrupters available. Firstly, ground fault circuit interrupter receptacles, which are installed in place of standard electrical outlets, and secondly, ground fault circuit interrupter circuit breakers, which are installed in the electrical panel and protect the entire circuit. For a refrigerator receptacle near a sink, a ground fault circuit interrupter receptacle is often the most practical solution. To install the ground fault circuit interrupter receptacle, the power to the circuit must be turned off at the circuit breaker. The existing receptacle is then removed, and the wires are connected to the corresponding terminals on the ground fault circuit interrupter receptacle. It is important to carefully follow the manufacturer's instructions and to ensure that the wires are securely connected. Once the ground fault circuit interrupter receptacle is installed, it should be tested to verify that it is functioning properly. This can be done by pressing the test button on the receptacle, which should cause it to trip and cut off power to the circuit. If the ground fault circuit interrupter does not trip when the test button is pressed, it may be faulty and should be replaced. In addition to providing ground fault circuit interrupter protection, it is also important to ensure that the refrigerator receptacle is properly grounded. Grounding provides a safe path for stray electrical current to flow back to the electrical panel, reducing the risk of electrical shock. The grounding wire should be connected to the grounding terminal on the receptacle and to the grounding bus bar in the electrical panel. It is also important to regularly inspect the refrigerator and its power cord for any signs of damage. Damaged cords, loose connections, or other issues can create electrical hazards. If any problems are found, they should be repaired immediately by a qualified electrician. In addition to the requirements for ground fault circuit interrupter protection near sinks, there are other areas in the home where ground fault circuit interrupters are required, such as bathrooms, garages, and outdoor locations. These requirements are designed to protect people from electrical shock in areas where they are more likely to come into contact with water or other conductive materials. By following these safety guidelines and installing ground fault circuit interrupters where required, you can significantly reduce the risk of electrical shock in your home and protect yourself and your family from serious injury or death. Remember, electrical work can be dangerous, so it is always best to consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns. Moreover, it is worth mentioning that electrical codes are subject to change and local jurisdictions may have additional requirements. Therefore, it is always advisable to consult with a local electrical inspector or a qualified electrician to ensure that your electrical system is up to code. Regular inspections of electrical systems are also recommended to identify and address any potential hazards before they can cause problems. These inspections should be performed by a qualified electrician who can assess the condition of the wiring, outlets, circuit breakers, and other components of the electrical system. During an inspection, the electrician may use various tools and techniques to identify potential problems, such as voltage drops, overloaded circuits, and faulty wiring. They may also check for proper grounding and bonding and verify that all electrical components are properly installed and functioning correctly. If any problems are found, the electrician can recommend appropriate repairs or upgrades to ensure the safety and reliability of the electrical system. In addition to regular inspections, it is also important to be aware of the warning signs of electrical problems, such as flickering lights, hot outlets, or burning smells. If you notice any of these signs, you should immediately turn off the power to the affected circuit and contact a qualified electrician. Attempting to repair electrical problems yourself can be dangerous and could result in serious injury or death. Ground fault circuit interrupters are not a substitute for proper electrical safety practices. It is still important to follow all safety guidelines and to take precautions when working with electricity. This includes wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and safety glasses, and using insulated tools. It is also important to avoid working with electricity in wet or damp conditions and to never overload electrical circuits. Overloading circuits can cause them to overheat, which could lead to a fire. To avoid overloading circuits, it is important to know the amperage rating of the circuit and to avoid plugging in too many appliances or devices at once. The amperage rating of a circuit is typically indicated on the circuit breaker or fuse that protects the circuit. It is also important to use extension cord safely. Extension cord should only be used temporarily and should not be run under rugs or furniture where they could be damaged. Extension cords should also be properly sized for the appliances or devices that they are powering. Using an undersized extension cord can cause it to overheat, which could lead to a fire. Furthermore, electrical safety is not just a concern in the home. It is also important to be aware of electrical hazards in the workplace and in public areas. In the workplace, employers are required to provide a safe working environment for their employees, which includes protecting them from electrical hazards. Employees should be trained on how to identify and avoid electrical hazards and should be provided with appropriate personal protective equipment. In public areas, such as parks and beaches, it is important to be aware of overhead power lines and underground electrical cables. Contact with these power lines or cables can be deadly. It is also important to avoid swimming or boating near electrical equipment, such as docks and marinas. Finally, it is important to educate children about electrical safety. Children should be taught not to play with electrical outlets or cords and to never touch electrical appliances or devices when they are wet. They should also be taught to recognize and avoid electrical hazards. By following these safety guidelines and taking precautions when working with electricity, you can significantly reduce the risk of electrical shock and protect yourself and others from serious injury or death. Remember, electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. Ground fault circuit interrupters are an important part of electrical safety, and their proper installation and maintenance are crucial for protecting people from electrical shock. So, in summary, the refrigerator receptacle needs to be GFCI protected.